Okay, folks, after all those beautiful exotic languages that took you all over the world, I'm going to gently bring you back to Belfast now. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you some of the clips and pieces of information that are involved in the actual Simple Steps pack. So very quickly, just once again, the STAMP project, there's all our partners involved. And just to let you and remind you that the PPP is very important. It's the Science and Treatment of Autism, a multimedia presentation for parents and professionals. So really what we wanted to do was create a tool that parents could use in order to teach them the science of applied behaviour analysis, but also use that tool to help them communicate with the professionals involved with their child. So as our speakers have pointed out, there was a massive need to provide parents and professionals with an informed choice for their children across Europe, as Neil pointed out. And each of the partners has obviously described the issues that they have in their own home country. What we wanted to teach was to teach parents about data-driven decision making to ensure best practice for their child. And once again, the entire project has been funded by the Leonardo da Vinci Lifelong Learning Programme. So what I'm going to do first of all, I'm just going to give you a little introductory clip to the contents of the pack. Okay, so as you can see from that clip, Simple Step uses video footage of parents and their children to educate other parents and professionals on all aspects of autism. This is very important, as I say, that we have parents involved. I think probably the most powerful piece of testimony that Laurie gave today wasn't about the work that she'd done as a legal person, it was her role as a mother. And I think that's very powerful. And to have professionals like myself talking to parents, yes, that's a very good thing, but another parent's story is a very powerful thing. So I think it's really important that we put those parent stories in the actual pack. Then what we do is we try to get parents to understand why behaviour occurs. This is very important. We need to have the proper understanding of why the behaviour is occurring. What are the contingencies that maintain that behaviour to allow us to put the proper intervention into place? That's one of the cornerstones of the pack. We also have a huge emphasis on measuring behaviour. We're talking about the science of applied behaviour analysis, and that measurement allows us to know whether or not our intervention's working. So we've put a lot of emphasis on measuring behaviour as well. One of the things that we also put a lot of emphasis on, and I think this is important for parents to hear, that I have yet, in all the years I've been working with children on the autistic spectrum, I have yet to find a child who has more inappropriate behaviour than appropriate behaviour. All of your children do a lot of great stuff, and you have to remember that it was probably you guys that taught them how to do that. So what we want to make sure is that we copper fasten and reinforcing those good behaviours that the kids are already involved in. And that's really important because that leads us on to the last aspect, which is dealing with problem behaviours. Because if we want to remove a piece of behaviour from somebody's repertoire, a behavioural vacuum is created. And if we remove a piece of behaviour, another piece of behaviour is going to fall into that gap, and we want to make sure that it's one of the appropriate behaviours that your child already engages in. So those are the really important steps that we go through. Just to kind of add that feel of the fact that this is a product, a package that was first made in Northern Ireland, and it's going out and helping people all over the world. I've just put a little montage of some of the foreign voices that are available now. Okay, so that's just a nice sort of feel of the international depth of the programme that we've been involved in. So we had to take some things into consideration when we were doing STAMP 2. The first thing that we wanted to do was to make sure that the programme was parent friendly. So parents could sit down and could understand exactly what it was we were trying to put across to them. But at the same time, it also had to be scientifically accurate. So I want a parent to come along and say to me, I understood all of that. But I want Neil Martin to come along and say to me, that's scientifically correct. Okay, so we had a balance in order to do that, and we think that's worked very well. We've also moved the whole thing online as opposed to it being a hard copy pack. We also had to make sure that the pack was culturally sensitive. Now that could be something as simple as a professional from each of the partner countries describing the diagnosis process and the different mechanisms that are in place in each of those countries. But it's also interesting things like, silly things like, for example, the Spanish partner originally said that Spanish people by and large would prefer to have things voiced over, dubbed, whereas the Norwegian partner said, no, we don't like that, we like to have subtitles. Other silly things, like I had video footage of myself, and every time a little boy did something right, I went, well done. In most countries, that's a really nice gesture, but in some Spanish-speaking parts of the world, that's incredibly rude. Okay, so we had to take things like that into consideration, and also, for example, I know in Iceland, the government are quite keen on keeping the integrity of the Icelandic language. So poor Loa had quite a job doing a lot of the translation work there, and that caused quite a few issues. Once again, we've added to the video footage on measuring behaviour. Measuring behaviour from the point of view of teaching, as well as why we measure behaviour, but how we go about it. And that's aimed very much at looking at, for example, a parent who maybe has the time to sit down and observe their child. We can measure their behaviour and show you the techniques for doing that. But also, for example, if you're a busy teacher in a classroom and you're maybe looking to have a method to allow you to measure the behaviour of maybe one or two individuals in your classroom that don't impact upon your teaching time, all those things are explained in the DVD as well. And then we also have a new section on discrete trial teaching, and what we also tried to do in this particular pack was, instead of just giving people lessons that they sat down and listened to and watched, we've also given them interactive teaching materials as well. So the whole thing, as I say, has moved on to a website, and that's just a picture of the website there, and that's available at simplestepsautism.com. So if anybody wants to go on, they can find that there. One of the things about the Leonardo project is that it's about innovation. So what we wanted to do was, in the initial pack, we had lots of video footage of people working with their kids, lots of video footage of our professionals talking, but technology moves on, and what we want to do is we want to embrace that technology, put that into the pack and move it about, so we can make things a bit more interesting. And one of the things that we wanted to do was to make the whole thing a bit more user-friendly. So we ended up having sort of green screen technology, which allowed us to do things like this. Okay, you've probably seen enough of that. I'd like to thank Dara O'Brien for being my stunt double in that. So what we've done is we've tried to make things parent-friendly and make it more accessible. Another thing I'd like to point out as well is, you'll notice in some of those clips that a lot of the kids that we have are older kids. Because one of the problems that we face, and I was talking to Laurie about this last night when we were at the conference dinner, was that some people still think applied behaviour analysis is synonymous with very young children. And we were chatting about the fact that it's really important that people understand that we can use behaviour analysis for older kids and for young adults as well. In fact, in my own research background, I have some publications in working with the institutionalised elderly. And with the institutionalised elderly, the skills that we were looking at enhancing with the institutionalised elderly were increasing their social interaction skills and also increasing their ability to access activity materials independently. Now, those are two skills that I think most parents of a child on ASD would appreciate their child learning as well. We used exactly the same science in order to get outcomes across two very different populations. And I think that's the point that one of the important things that we want to point out is that the science of applied behaviour analysis is useful across any number of different populations, but across any age span in ASD as well. So it's really important that we can put those points across. Now, once we discovered that we had a very new and interesting way of putting the material across, that allowed us to then to teach things in a much more beneficial way. So, for example, this is a video clip of one of our presenters talking about understanding behaviour. Okay, so Nanny made a point about behaviour analysts, and we love data. I'm a nerd. I love graphs. But if I'm trying to teach parents about applied behaviour analysis, I don't want to give them a very dry textbook to have to read, because that's going to be a real turn-off for them. But with the things that we've done in the new version of Simple Steps, we're putting the parent or the learner right into the middle of a situation and using lots of lovely interactive tools to help parents learn their new skills. So that's a really important aspect that we focused on quite a bit. Also introduced a lot more information on measurement. I'll show you a very quick shot of that. Okay, so Tony Byrne stood up and said he's a parent. He's not exactly dying about the whole idea of measuring behaviour. That's a problem that we have to overcome. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to introduce parents to the whole idea of why measurement's important, but we're also giving them exercises in how to do it, to let them practice it, to compare their results to the scores that the behaviour analysts are actually achieving, and that gives them the confidence after practicing with the online help to go and measure their own child's behaviour, and that's vitally important in any ABA programme. Then what we also do is we provide online materials for parents to allow them to actually measure their child's behaviour. So we can see here we've got a number of different areas. So let's just flick through here. If we want to go, for example, if we wanted to measure behaviour, we could, for example, go in there and look at all the different types of measurement sheets. In this particular instance, we were going to teach parents how to measure a frequency of a behaviour. And what we do is we give the instructions on how to do it. We provide the data sheets that can be printed off. And then we also teach the parents how to graph that data. It's all very well having a big pile of data sheets sitting in a dusty file somewhere, but they're very hard to read and very hard to interpret. But as soon as that's put on a graph, you can see straight away whether that change is working or not. So these are all important skills that we're teaching parents. Teach them how to interpret graphs. We also introduce things like, for example, token economies and token boards. We give instructions on how to use a token economy. We give a basic board. All the materials are there for parents to strip down from the website. So what we've done is we've really moved this project forward, making it more parent-friendly, making it more interactive, and giving as many helpful pieces of materials that the parents could possibly need. I know we're over lunchtime. I'm going to stop talking now and hand you over to Carola Dillenberger, but thank you very much.